It's my turn now to discuss the following organization, its vision, and when I think where we are coming from and where we are going. So I start with this slide because it's interesting showing where we are coming from. This was the very first foiling week that I organized in 2014 in Lake Garda. And the following week was an event not designed purely for racing. We basically came up with the idea of making an event that would put together the industry. So racing was a part of it, but we had immediately from year one a forum, conferences. Over 10 years we have done, I think, over 200 sessions with more or less 400 to 600 speakers. And this picture is dear to me because it shows the speakers getting together for the very first time. What you see in the picture is the late Tom Spear on the left. That was the designer for the Oracle wing for the large trimaran that was built for the dogfight. And on the ground, Andrew McDougall, which is the designer of the Mach II, which is the boat you see in the picture. Why is it interesting? Because they've been pen friends before Foiling Week. They've never met before. They've been discussing foiling for years, but they never met in person. And so to me, it is important because it shows how it is relevant to put people together in the same place to start in discussions. And somehow we can say that even though the foiling organization wasn't even conceived by then, the idea of putting together the industry to talk and discuss, it was. And this was the very first part. From there, we skip forward to what we have today. The foiling organization was born last year, so we are kind of a newborn baby in the nautical industry in terms of organization. But it is interesting to see that from a very limited number of people that were basically pen friends, we now have an industry which is made from our own statistics, which are, of course, still in development. But our calculation shows that there are 1,750 companies that are involved in foiling. What I mean by that is some of them are fully dedicated to foiling. So take Candela. Candela does foiling only. Two companies that do foiling at least partially. For example, Blue Game would be, for me, one of these companies. It's doing foiling within the range of activities they do. These companies are spread all around the globe, same as the delegates that we see here. We have, from the list of the people that is attending, we have people that is coming from New Zealand, from South Africa, from the US, Canada, South America. Of course, there is a majority of Europeans because of the location. But it's certainly showing that there is a wide geographic spread of the industry. Another interesting element is the value, which the number was there last year and it should already have changed. The reason is that from the calculations that we could make so far, and again, by all means, they're not complete or precise, but we see that in the last 10 years, foiling has increased the annual turnover value of around 20 to 25% every year till now. And we are still going into that direction. So it is obvious that it is a fast-growing industry and that there is still plenty of room for this growth. Consider that the value of the nautical industry worldwide is estimated to be around 60 billions, and foiling is 1 billion. And I would say it looks like not enough, but it's already 1 billion. It's a lot. If you consider that we are a very recent industry, and that there is a lot of room to keep growing. So what have we done as a foreign organization in the last year to help the growth of this industry? We organized at the METS in Amsterdam, a foil technology pavilion. The purpose of this pavilion, here in the picture you see Dan Bernasconi, which is the head of design for Emirates in New Zealand, and Mario Caponnetto, which is here, from Caponnetto Uber and also designer of American Magic. These companies, they were both sharing their know-how with the rest of the marine industry. The purpose of the Foil Technology Pavilion was to put together a group of companies, of manufacturers of products and also of provider of services that would show to the rest of the marine industry in one place everything they needed to develop foiling in one place. Because what we see, and we receive many queries in this direction, like from companies in the normal marine world that basically say, okay, we want to do foiling. Where do we start? Because it looks complex. There's many elements, as Luca has clearly shown. These many elements are the composites, the mechatronics, flight controls, and so I understand that it can be scary for the marine industry because some of these elements are unknown. But if we put them all together in one place, then it's easier to understand that the industry already exists. There's more than one competitor for the same, more than one provider for the same services. For example, if you take mechatronic or flight control, just at the Foil Technology Pavilion, there were 2 or 3 manufacturers of each one of these. We are, as foiling organization, setting up base here in Genoa. Our headquarters will be here. This is a construction site at the moment, but our office will be ready in November. And the idea, of course, is to make it, let's say, the headquarters of the foiling industry and research and innovation. We will have an administration office here, but we are already looking for a place on the water where we can have a research and innovation lab, where we can test together with the industry players the crafts of any size, let's say, well, not on any size, but let's say from electric foil boards to all the way up to probably 15, 20 meters, together with the rest of the industry. This organization, let's say this headquarters will have meeting areas and innovation hub, exhibition and museum space and a conference area and so on. And the program is over the year to run a number of conferences on all the aspects of foiling. So, for example, 1 month it will be composites, another month will be mechatronic, another month will be flight control system, so that we keep the knowledge and the knowledge sharing, which is a very important element of a newborn industry, alive and kicking all the time. We have a few challenges in the industry. The challenges are that this is as again Luca has shown in his presentation, there is we are at the peak of the technology. We are using technologies that are very developed and uncommon for the rest of the marine industry. And these technologies require engineers and builders that have, let's say, a long relation with these elements. So it is important that as an industry we understand that the number of people that has this know-how is limited, and if we want to grow, we need to grow this knowledge and share it. Another issue is that we don't have off-the-shelf components at the moment. If any marine boatyard wants to enter the foiling industry, they have to develop from scratch many of the elements. They have to design foils, they have to find propulsion, they have to look for the mechatronic and the flight control parts. Even though there are some manufacturers now, it's still not easy to find them ready to go as a product. Of course, we are not aiming to find them on Amazon, but still it will be important to have more accessibility to off-the-shelf components. There is some work that needs to be done on public acceptance, especially on the sailing side. On motorboat, I believe that foiling is easier to accept because the speed is already there. It adds comfort, it adds range, and the changes are really limited to, let's say, compared to the normal boat. In sailing, it's a different story, and we certainly will need more work to be done in terms of promotion and, let's say, marketing for the general acceptance. Collisions and insurance are certainly a hot topic. Foiling is, let's say, because of the presence of the foils in the water, has, let's say, kind of higher risk of hitting objects or let's say, marine fauna. And this, of course, has, on one side, an advantage because if you hit the foils, you're probably not hitting the hull, so it will be easier for you to go back home, but it will be more like an airplane that lost a wing, and so you need to basically taxi back home, which may be a very long trip if you are in the middle of the sea. Collisions go together with insurance. If we don't solve soon the problem of seeing forward and avoiding collisions, insurance premiums will go up, or they are already quite high. And certainly it is an important theme for the industry. Laws and regulations are also an important topic. As we know, we will have a discussion later on, for example, on the RCD. The RCD is the Recreational Aircraft Directive, which is the European laws that allows the certification of vessels under 24 meters. At the moment, foiling is, the foiling definition is used expressively to basically say foiling is not included in the RCD, which somehow also did let us play a little more free in the last years, because we are a kind of an experimental technology, and it did give us a lot of freedom. On the other side, it makes more complex for foiling crafts to be certified and insured. The understanding is that for the next Recreational Aircraft Directive, the European, let's say, Commission is interested in including foiling, and it is important that we discuss this internally, but also, of course, we discuss it with the European boating industry, with ICOMIA, and with everyone that has the possibility of being at the table of discussion with the European, let's say, Commission that is designing the next RCD, so that our voice is heard as much as possible. In terms of what are we doing then next in terms of a foiling organization to face these challenges? Here you see Mario again, which is basically our poster boy now for many things that we do. We are starting, of course it's, let's say, at the moment in design, but the idea is to start continuous professional development courses. So for composites, for CFD, for mechatronics, for flight controls, is to initiate a number of master classes that the industry can attend, so that companies can send, let's say, their employees to understand better and learn more about these components at the level that foiling requires. We have in plan for 2025, an expo dedicated to foiling. This will go, let's say, everything is in planning stage. So let's say that the idea is 1 year from now, when we will have again the Congress, to start an expo for the first year, let's say B2B, so dedicated to more the business side, more to probably the commercial side of foiling, so public transportation, and then on year 2, in 2026, to open it to B2C, so to consumers. I think it is important that we have a vertical expo dedicated to everything foiling. It helps not only, of course, initially the B2B, but I think it helps also the consumer to better understand the advantages of foiling. What we have seen is that if you have no idea about what foiling is, if you see an electric foil board and nothing else, or if you see a candle, or if you see only one item, it is difficult to understand the advantages of foiling and the game-changing capacity that this technology has for the marine industry. The idea is that if we put them all together, it is much easier to grasp how big the change, how big foiling, how big the impact of foiling is going to be in the industry, because then you see every aspect of it, from the electric foil board to ferries, to motorboats, to sailing boats. So we are certainly going into this direction, and we hope to see many of the companies represented in this room to join the Expo in 2025. Another initiative that we are taking, of course we are starting with Genoa because we are based here, is we have a discussion at the moment, and we are discussing a roadmap with the Councillor for Mobility in Genoa to implement commercial foiling in the city. It will be a step-by-step, of course. The initial idea is to have some trial boats on a route which is already used, which is the Genova Pegli to Porto Antico, which is already operated by, let's say, what they call a naval bus. So there is a public transportation by sea. And then to build a system that can connect not only the city of Genoa, but everything that you see in this map that goes from Arenzano all the way to Sestri Levante. We are talking about more or less 45, 50 miles of coastline. Genova, like many Mediterranean cities, has the issue of having mountains just on the backdrop, which means that it is difficult to expand roadways. And so transportation by sea makes a lot of sense, especially if it's, of course, foiling, at least in my mind, because it will be fast, it will be economic, and it will certainly serve the purpose. We have run some, you will see later this afternoon when there is a talk dedicated to this, but I was impressed by seeing a simulation that was showing that basically having double the number of carrying capacity at double the speed, the city would save in the Genova Pegli to Porto Antico 1.5 million per year by using electric foiling crafts compared to a diesel engine standard power yacht. This is the beginning. Let me get into this a little with more details. We are discussing with an association called Resilient Cities Network, which is made of 100 cities worldwide. 60% of these cities are based on the sea, and the scope of this association is, as the name says, resiliency to climate change. Because 60% of these cities are on the sea, for them it means mainly blue economy. And we're not talking about small cities. The cities that are part of this group are cities like Auckland, Sydney, New York, Paris, which of course is not on the sea, but it's to give you the size of the cities and the scope. And what is interesting is that this group of, this association is not made just to share ideas, but it's made to share funds for projects, which means that there is a possibility to engage with them and propose small to large scale experiments of commercial foiling applications in these cities. And they will be certainly part of our conference next year. We are starting a collision avoidance academic research. Collision avoidance is strategically very important for foiling. Here in the picture you see one of the old teams that have 5 of these boats. They are 100 feet long, single-handed, magically, I would say. And they basically have done very recently a round-the-globe race that they completed mostly under 45 days. 2 of the boats retired because they had collisions with unidentified objects. At the moment, the technology is not there yet. Is not there yet solving the problem. What is the problem? Is that we have crafts that travel, I would say, average 20 to 40 knots. The majority of the sensors available to market, they are very good in looking downwards into the water, but they are not very good at looking forward. Because the problem we have is we need to see objects that are floating, not under the water. And of course, that means that we need to see through waves, and that's the real complexity. If we have a container or a whale, which is 500 meters, 1,000 meters ahead of us, which is the kind of distance we need to be able to see to counteract and to have, to basically tell the boat, okay, you have seen something, alter the course. If you're going at 40 knots, that's not something that can happen, especially on a sailing boat, in a fraction of a second. So we need this ability to see as much as we can forward and to act as much early as we can to avoid collision. This technology is, let's say, available at the moment in the world, but to give an idea, my understanding is that is common in warfare. Let's take an example. If you have a torpedo that you need to launch from, for example, a submarine, and you need to hit a ship, then you want this torpedo to avoid anything in between you and the ship, and hit exactly the ship and nothing else in between. The problem with that is that military don't have a budget restriction. If you need to sink a ship is normally worth billions, so you're not really looking at budgets there. You don't want to cut dollars or cents. So budgets are unlimited. And the other issue is a torpedo needs to last 10 minutes max before they hit or not hit. So they have a very high level of energy consumption. But the technology is there. They are able to avoid on the surface objects along the route. So we need to work together, maybe with them, or anyway, to launch, what we are doing is we are launching this academic research that is putting together universities and research centers to work into collision avoidance. And we're doing that also together with a larger group that is doing that for the rest. I would say there is a big group of companies and research system working into collision avoidance. And the idea, of course, is to focus this research on everything that is specifically foiling related to avoid overlapping with other research centers. Here I just want to give you two, let's say, food for thought is sailing going to be the new fast? I think this is. I had a conversation in the last couple of days with the head of a very large, let's say, boat construction group, European-based. And it struck me because it was interesting. He was telling me, Luca, I'm not going to name him because it was a private conversation, but and I don't want to put these words into his mouth. But I want to share what he was saying. By regulations, motorboats in the future will go slower because of consumption limitations, because they will need to save fuel, and they will need to go, therefore, slower than what we see today. Sailing boats, on the other side, can go faster and faster because of foiling. So we may see a world where foiling boats, sailing boats, are going to be the new fast. If you want to go fast on the sea, then you take a sailing foiling craft. Because then the limit of speed will be in the 50 knots if we want to stay under cavitation, or maybe we can even go higher than that. But I think it is an interesting thought that there is this kind of reverse system that can play for the next years, where even for the power owners that Luca mentioned before, maybe if foiling can go straight without heeling, and it's not too complex to manage, maybe we will see the switch of some of these motor yacht owners into sailing yacht owners. Then another point that I want to make, it's more about how to get foiling accepted by the masses. This is a picture I stole from the Artemis website, so forgive me if they are in the room. But it's for a good cause. I think commercial foiling and city transport application is the best way we have for the final consumer to get used to foiling. If cities like Genoa and other cities, Stockholm, start having commercial foiling crafts for the transportation of public, and if people get used to be on these boats, to feel the comfort, the very low noise level, the capacity to move A to B at fast speed, the next time they go to a boat show, they will say, okay, here is a foiling boat. I know what it is. I've tried it before. Or they will say, why don't you have a foiling boat in your product range? Because I tried it and it's working. I've seen what it is. So I think it is important for us as an industry that we push as much as we can the use of foiling for the public, because this will certainly make its acceptance for the normal consumer much faster. Thank you for listening so far. Thank you. Thank you very much.